Yo, what up, everybody? I'm not a YouTuber. I'm a gamer, so please make sure you subscribe. It will definitely help me out. So here's the thing, right? This is a video on the fastest way to level in Diablo 4 that I'm aware of. Okay, this is after the patch of being able to reset dungeons, so you can no longer reset nightmare dungeons. Now, what is the fastest way to level? Okay, so this is what I got. First of all, you're going to want someone to power level you through the capstones. That way you're in world tier 4 at level 1 or whatever. You're just world tier 4 immediately, okay? Then what you're going to want to do is leech from 1 to 50 while someone is clearing nightmare dungeons, however they want to do it, right? Now, once you get to 50, what you need to do is you should have thrown on just random sacred gear. It doesn't matter, highest armor stuff, whatever. Now, what you should be trying to do is follow them through the dungeon instead of just leeching at the door. You could have maybe not been leeching from the beginning and kind of trying to pick up items, but I usually start about 50. 50 is enough. So the 50 through 60 era is where you definitely want to be grabbing ancestrals off the ground, because by the time you are 60, right, you need to be able to rush yourself, okay? So 1 through 60 should take you less than 2 hours, okay? There's no reason why 1 through 60 should not take you less than 2 hours. Now, it may take you a little bit more than that depending on who you have helping you through that phase, right? It's better, XP is always going to be better when you're in a team. Now, regardless, once you hit 60, okay, you should have already collected gear for your build, okay, through the ancestrals found on the ground. You should already have the aspects you need. You should have found those, okay? And so once you're 60, what I would recommend doing is branching off from yourself and making a group on from friends through a third-party aspect or something like Discord, something, right? So this is a team method, so in order to get this XP, you do need a team. You could do it solo, it's just not going to be as fast, right? So it's up to you. So now what you need to do is get that team, right? And what you want them to do is you want them to have you want them to have a fair amount of S tier sigils, right? I would recommend the main one that you really want is Sirats. Now, if you guys just burnt dust, okay, and you guys all started with even a small amount of Sirats, like let's say 4 players all had 3 Sirats, right? The rotation of that can spring an infinitism where you could basically always be resetting Sirats. Now, I understand it may not be quite that sweet, but there's no reason why you couldn't be doing Sirats 95% of the time and then switching off through some other S tier dungeons. So what you're going to want to do is do just that. You know, if you're making a post or something through third party or Discord or something, just tell them, you know, in the post, just say, you know, you're going to need 5 Sirat layers to join. You know, everyone who joins will have 5 Sirat layers, right? So, and that's basically what you're going to just do is sit here and repeat Sirats. That's about it. No, really though, if I was to add more, I mean, that's basically the strategy, right? But there is actually a little bit more, but the fish is going to actually sound a little dumb, right? And the other things are, first of all, when I'm hosting, there's a few rules about that I have when I'm hosting. Not rules that I tell people, but rules that I tell myself, right? And that is that they always have to have the option to kill something. They should never, for whatever reason, be waiting on me, ever, okay? So, when the boss dies, I am not, first of all, I'm not allowed to go to town. I have to leave the game and rehost the next game to give them the option to start killing again. Now, in this case, you can't leave the game because you're not resetting dungeons. So in this case, what you would basically do, and that doesn't mean go to town and sell and talk for 10 minutes. That means throw up the next dungeon immediately. Make sure that next dungeon is put up. And I may even add something like, I don't want to say no looting allowed, but the thing about when you're resetting dungeons, if like people aren't in there, they're going to miss the XP. So I would definitely make sure you're not looting, or like people notice that like you've cleared a, because I mean I'm literally so fast. You should be doing a Sirot's layer in about 60 seconds, right? With a 4-man, when they rush through here, you should have this cleared in about 60 seconds. If you see people towning and selling, what your goal is to clear this whole dungeon before they get back in here. You want to let everybody know that this is going. Now, when you and then too, you want to immediately start the next one and keep repeating this process. Now, what I would do is I would continue through with this phase until, or while not looting. Like I won't loot anything, just so you can bring everybody up to pace. And once everybody's up to pace, right? People will squeeze in times to loot. Plus, when you have a 4-man, a 3-man can run through and clear the dungeon in, you know, around 60 seconds anyways. There's room for a person to loot. So you're kind of rotating out looters, which, and this is kind of a little picky too, which is kind of why it's a little bit better when you have a team. But I do this in public with just random people I'm bringing in off of posts or Discord or whatever, right? Or friends, in and out. Just I have a bunch of people coming in and out with a constant reset dungeon lobby that is continuously clearing. So not looting for while new groups are joining is a big part of setting the pace. There is definitely more to this too. So these boots right here, just the aspect, you gain movement speed while slowed or chill. I usually don't have that on my boots. I usually have that on my amulet almost no matter what character I am, right? Just to give any character I'm using 200% max movement speed. If you're going to be doing these runs, the first thing I would do is lower your damage and put on 200% movement speed at capped, right? Because that 200% movement speed is basically going to give you more damage than any damage can actually give you, right? And as well, if you already know and are aware of your build, what your build needs, where you need to be putting Paragon points, you should basically be one-shotting stuff anyways, even while you have no DPS on. Now, my gear right now is just totally random. I'm just switching stuff in and out. Normally, I don't have this here, right? But a druid does not need Grizzly Rage here to function, right? A Necro does not need Essence there to function, right? You can one-shot and do all that crazy stuff with movement speed on your amulet, which is going to make you incredibly zippy when you are level 60. When you're level 60 with 200% movement speed, yeah. So the next thing is that, what was I gonna say? Oh, I forgot. Oh yeah, I do remember. So the next thing is, what level dungeons do you want to be playing? Now, basically, this is going to sound weird, right? But basically, you want to be playing the lowest level dungeons possible, okay? Lowest level nightmare dungeons possible. Oh, what tier should I be running? What level should the monsters be? That stuff, none of that matters, okay? You want to basically be playing the lowest level tiers possible. Not exactly, but sort of. So, first of all, when you're starting a group by yourself, right, and you're level 60, okay, generally speaking, you're just going to want to be going lower level dungeons anyways. That way, you know, the monsters aren't so much higher than you, plus you're still going to be getting max XP, whatever the jazz. So, once you've leveled up though and you can actually hold your own, the thing is you still do not want to crank the difficulty. You don't want to. Well, your goal is, okay, is to be able to clear this dungeon in 60 seconds. If you're clearing this dungeon in 60 seconds on level 30, and then you go to level 40 and it's taking you 90 seconds, it's taking you an extra 30 seconds, you are losing out on a very large amount of XP for adding that 30 seconds, okay? Basically, even if you are getting more XP per run, you're getting a lot less XP per hour, okay? So, with that being said, what level should you run? Now, the level that you want to run is a little tricky because what I do is I like the lowest level possible. That way, not even the lowest level possible, but I'm not talking about 20s here, but definitely a lower tier that no one's doing, like, you know, mid 30s, for example. The reason that I want mid 30s is because whoever I invite to the game, okay, if he's a low level, if he's like a level 70 or something like that, let's say I'm 90, right? I'm 90, it's very possible if I haven't hunted out certain players and I'm just bringing in randoms, that yeah, I'll be doing a lower level dungeon where I may not be getting the cap XP. The reason I do that is because I want the weakest person in my team to be able to one-shot stuff. I can one-shot stuff even further. Yeah, sure, I can go to 60 or 70 or 80 and still one-shot stuff. But it doesn't help if it's taking me 4 minutes because I have to do the whole dungeon because my team is lacking. So, the dungeon I set at is the weakest person on my team, or that I think I'm going to bring in or allow into the group, that I think that they will be able to just run through and annihilate, right? Because you're trying to keep the time. Man, if you can get this under a minute, that is where the XP is at. Now, with all this being said, how much XP can you get an hour? That's a good question. There was a Dom tunnel, right? I don't know who knows or who doesn't know about Dom's tunnel, but in Dom's tunnel, you could get about 60 million XP an hour, maybe actually even more. Now, that was a really good XP farm. But the thing is you can also get 60 mil an hour in this layer, right? Or doing the farm that I'm saying, even if you're switching off, as long as you're not switching to too many different S tiers. When you are hunting for sigils, you definitely want Surat's lair. You do not want other S tier sigils. But if that's what you get, then that's what you get, right? There's really nothing you can do there. But if you have a team that's rotating and spending sigils, they should, you know, most of the time you should be in a Surat. Do you want Alder's Cave or something like that? No. And the reason why is because when you see this map here, this is kind of a one lane right here. Well, that's basically all what Alder's Cave is. All the XP comes in this big area right here, right? When a team is here and they split off and they all just start killing things, that's where all the XP comes from, okay? Alder's Cave is kind of like a one-path type thing, and for a 4-man, I would think Alder Cave is probably a little bit better for, like, less players, like a solo XP farm. I'm not too sure. They're probably probably about the same, but the whole point is, the reason this is so good is because players can split off. That's another reason why you want to make sure you have 4 players. People always ask me, oh, does 4 players give more XP? And they're talking about in the sense that, like, you know, you're going to get more XP per run, da-da-da-da. I have no idea, but that's not why I do it, right? I do it so I can actually have someone in a different part of the map, like over here, or over here while I'm over here and this guy's over here, and we're all killing things at once. So this whole dungeon, all the XP gets absorbed in like a minute, right? So if you have one player, yeah, it's still the same amount of XP per run, but you have to do it all by yourself, etc. So there's that. Now, there has been times where it gets to a point where I'm not even necessarily saying that this is good or bad, but sometimes when I'm going crazy, I won't even stay for the glyph XP, right? Sometimes I'm actually talking about when I was resetting, so I guess you can't do that now. But sometimes I was actually skipping the boss. And there is other dungeons that you can do that on, right? Like, let me give you an example. Let's talk about Mercy's Reach for a second. Let's say that you're doing these Surat farms. I think that's how you would pronounce that, Surat. That's how I say it, this layer. Let's say you're doing this layer, right? Which is Surat. And let's say that none of your groups have anything. Now, you're supposed to be saving a few other specific dungeons, right? One of these might be Mercy's Reach. Now, what I would recommend for something like Mercy's Reach now, right, is clearing the dungeon, getting to them 2 lanes, and just killing the elites, because there's like 8 elites in the left room, 8 elites in the right room, right? Just running straight to them, basically, killing the 16 elites, and throwing up the next sigil, okay? Now, at that point, if you don't throw up the next sigil and you walk to the boss, what you're basically doing is you're basically losing out on a bunch of XP. In comparison, if you had one player who was just splitting and resetting, right, and you had another player who was splitting and killing the boss, player A, who is just resetting, can get 2 level 100s before this guy can get to 100. I'm pretty sure that is a fact. Because all the XP in Mercy's Reach comes from the mobs and the elites. Now, after that, when you split off and you go into, to fight the boss, there's not much XP there. So, I'm not saying, I'm kind of getting off topic here, but the main point is you always want to be fighting monsters, no matter what. Another thing that I do, which kind of sucks on materials, is I will just start dropping items right here on the ground, right? When Surat is coming out here, sometimes I will be full of items because I'm looting. I will just drop those on the ground, and I'll just drop the items here on the ground, the ones I don't want. Or what I will be doing is making sure I'm marking everything for junk while I'm in here. Or let's say my team rushes out ahead of me and I do need to sell. Let's say I actually do need to sell. Well, stay right here and leech at the door and mark this stuff as junk while you leech. Then just go to town, quick sell. That way at least you're still getting XP. I'm getting a little bit off topic. I'm sure there's more to this. Yeah, that's pretty much it though. Hey, like and subscribe. Let me know if you know a faster way to level than this. It should take you about, I don't know, 15 hours or something like that to get 1 to 100, if you had a team. Yeah, hey, I'm out. Please subscribe. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm a gamer. Holla at